What's up, guys? Natonic here, and today I'm going to talk about my ideas for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, I haven't really talked about this game at all, but it got announced at E3 back in June, and the game looks absolutely amazing, and it's just very beautiful. It's coming out both for the Wii U and the NX, and basically going to be discussing my ideas mainly for the gameplay. I'm not really going to talk about my ideas for the story. Maybe I will for another episode, but today, right now, I'm just going to talk about my ideas for the gameplay for Breath of the Wild. So let's start things off with the dungeons or the Sheikah shrines, whatever they are. One of my ideas for it is, instead of having this annoying water temple, because there is always a water temple in Legend of Zelda, I want there to be a ice and water temple where it gives a use to the fire and ice arrows. So I mean, like right here you can see a picture of Link using the ice arrows to freeze the water right here to get across, which gives a pretty good use of the ice arrows, because in most games the fire and ice arrows really aren't used for many things. I mean, like even in Ocarina of Time you don't even use the ice arrows. You do use the fire arrows to like burn away cobwebs and stuff like that, but you absolutely don't even use the ice arrows. So with this dungeon of ice and water, it really gives a use to the fire and ice arrows if they are coming back. And I do hope that they do come back, because I do like the fire and ice arrows. And so like the temple would be like, maybe it would be out of ice in some rooms, and then it would be out of water, like the whole room would be made out of water in other rooms. And you have to like figure out, do you want to keep it frozen or do you want to melt it away? Because like maybe under the ice you can see a treasure chest that you want to get with like the iron boots and fall down, and so you shoot a fire arrow and maybe it makes like a little circle of water through the ice, and you can just dive through right there and get like a treasure chest, or maybe there's like an opening or something like that. And then for the ice arrows, and the room is covered in water, you can use the ice arrows to get across or to freeze certain places to get to higher places, like as you see in Majora's Mask in the Great Bay Temple, where you use them to jump across to get to a higher place by using the ice arrows, which you can't do while you're just in the water. So I mean, I really liked how they did that in the Great Bay Temple, and it didn't really make it a bad water temple, and so hopefully they do that in Breath of the Wild. Alright, so my second idea is probably the best idea. Oh yeah, this is just another screenshot of how they could do it too, where there could be an ice room and you have to like melt away the ice in order to get to like a switch or a treasure chest or a different area. And yeah, this is from Link to the Past. No, actually Link Between Worlds. And I like how they did that in this temple too. And if they did choose to do that, I mean, we know we have the fire rod coming back, so they could be doing this too with the fire and ice arrows. Alright, anyway, so as I was saying, my second idea is probably the idea that I feel like should be in this game, where to have pets. Like Link should have pets in this game. I mean, the whole game is based off of wildlife. It has wild in the name, so you would think that you would interact with the wildlife, and like maybe you would kill some of them to get some food, but maybe they are required for dungeons and stuff that you can actually like gain relationships with to like make them your pet, and they can be very helpful. But the downside about it is that you have to feed them too, every time they're hungry, the same thing as for Link. Whenever he's hungry, you have to feed him. So like they could have birds, and the birds can like maybe fly you to different areas or act like cuckoos and help you like glide across, kind of like the paraglider, I guess. But I mean, I guess it wouldn't be that because you already have the paraglider. But I mean, the birds can also maybe like get to high places that you can't get up to, like maybe hit a switch that is farther up if you don't have a bow and arrow, like if you're out of arrows and stuff. Or the bird can like attack enemies from above. And yeah, and then like there's just so much wildlife in this game, and I would be very surprised if you're not able to interact with them other than being able to kill them. Like, I mean, with the gameplay and stuff, we have seen that with the Wolf Link amiibo can be used, and like a second player can use Wolf Link to control and play as. But maybe like if you don't have a second player to play as Wolf Link, you can like maybe there's wild dogs outside, and Link can gain relationships with it by giving it food, maybe petting it. Maybe you have to do like certain things in order to befriend that pet or animal, and by doing so they will follow you along and help you with your journey. But the downside about it is that you have to feed them when they're hungry, and that can be really bad because if you're low on food, then you might have to kill your pet, which can be very sad. But yeah, I feel like the Wolf Link or the wild dogs outside, if there are gonna be wild dogs in Breath of the Wild, they can be used in dungeons, like to go through small passageways and to like maybe get a key, or they could be used to like help you attack enemies, and they would be very useful. But again, the downside is you have to feed them every time. And like maybe there'll be like other animals too, like cats, like wild cats, or maybe even like frogs or something like that, where you have to like catch flies in a bottle and feed them the fly, and then they'll be your friend and they'll follow you along, and then they can like help you with like, and they maybe will be required for like a dungeon or something. But I just feel like there should be some interaction with the wildlife other than killing them and using them for food, and that they should be able to help Link, seeing that Wolf Link is playable and can be helpful. So yeah, that's basically my big idea of having pets in this game, and I really think it should be in the game. Anyway, my next idea is that like they could do something like the Den of Trials, where I mean we know that this game is massive and that the demo only showed off 1% of the map. So there's gonna be a lot of temples, and so the Den of Trials, if you don't know, it's like a bunch of floors in Triforce Heroes, and every floor is like a different puzzle. And they're actually like checkpoints within. It's probably like the biggest dungeon or temple in all of Zelda, I guess you could say. And I really liked the ideas of Den of Trials because it was a massive dungeon. There was a lot to do, and every floor was like basically a different puzzle or different enemies that you had to face against. And I just really liked it, and so hopefully they do continue having a lot of dungeons in this game, and I would really be surprised if they didn't, because this game is massive, so there's gonna be a lot of temples, I'm pretty sure, and it's just gonna be like the Den of Trials, but there'll be so many more dungeons than just like, there'll probably be like over 100 dungeons, and hopefully they do that because this game is massive. Anyway, my other idea is there are so many weapons in this game, and the weapons can be like used to your advantage or disadvantage, and that like some weapons are good against other weapons where they're bad against you. So like for instance, if there was an enemy with a sword, maybe a lance would be better because, or like maybe no, an enemy has an axe, and the better weapon would be using a spear because it has longer range than the axe wielder that is attacking you. Kind of like in Fire Emblem, I guess, because in that game, I think it's lances are good against axes, axes are good against swordsmen, and swordsmen are good against lance masters or whatever they are. But and I think also because apparently they have like different critical hit rates and all that stuff, which is really cool, and maybe they will take a lesson out of Fire Emblem, and the different enemies have different weapons, and those weapons can have weaknesses and strengths, which hopefully they do add, and hopefully there are a lot of different types of weapons, and maybe you'll get like a different weapon in a temple that's like overpowered than the other weapons that you just find out in the wild, like maybe a golden sword, or a double-sided axe, or like a trident. And hopefully like they do that, add that, because just having these weapons from the plain old enemies they're pretty boring looking, and you do have like sticks, clubs, you even have like a skeleton arm, which is probably like the most creative, and hopefully they do add some creative weapons to it. So far there hasn't been any like long range weapons. You can throw the weapons like the spears and the clubs, and you can actually interact with the environment, kind of like how you can light the club on fire, and it would be like more powerful. And hopefully there are other interactions with the environment with your weapons to make them more powerful, or maybe they will but the downside maybe would be that making them more powerful will like make them more dull and will allow them to break more easily. Alright, my other idea is that the bosses, maybe there's like a certain, like I said before, there's like a certain weapon that you have to use that is strong against it, and their attacks are weak against you because of that strong weapon, and that you would like find in the Sheikah temples or tribes, whatever they are. And I feel like that maybe you have to find the bosses in the wild. You have to like find a weapon in the temples in order to destroy that boss, and you have to come back to it. Kind of like I guess in Xenoblade Chronicles, where you can find like very strong bosses that are like super bosses, or it plays that epic music, and you can't defeat them in your current state, and you have to come back when you are leveled up. But like in Zelda's case, there's like this boss out in the wild, but you try everything and you can't beat him, and so you need a different type of weapon in order to beat him. Now I don't know, I actually haven't seen what you get from defeating these bosses, but I'm guessing either a heart container, a heart piece, or maybe a new weapon or a new item. I don't really know, because I haven't seen it yet, but maybe it'll be also something to know more about the story. Maybe it'll like have a clue or something. I don't know. Anyway, my next idea is that new events will occur as the day goes on, kind of like in Majora's Mask, where in the 3-day cycle there were different events happening every day. And so here it doesn't look like you can see how many days there are, but you can see the time, and so I'm guessing like there will be different events that will occur in the nighttime than in the daytime, and it can be used to your advantage or disadvantage maybe the enemies will become stronger, or maybe the enemies will be asleep at night. Because I've seen that the enemies go to sleep at night, but maybe there'll be other things like my idea of the pets. Maybe there'll be different animals that will come out in the nighttime than in the daytime. Maybe you'll see like bats or like possum or raccoons. Who knows? But I feel like that there should be more than just enemies sleeping, than other things happening in the nighttime than the daytime. Anyway, my next idea is that even though this is an open world and the world is massive, I see that in the demo, in order to get to the bottom ground in the beginning, you have to get the paraglider, because if you fall down, then it's instant death. So I'm guessing that even though this is an open world, you still have to probably get items to get to a new area, because maybe there'll be like a massive wall and you need better climbing gear in order to climb that wall because you have stamina. Or maybe there'll be like a massive amount of water and you can't swim that long, so maybe you have to get a boat or find one of the rafts or something like that in order to get to a new area by going through the temples and stuff. But I'm guessing that, like, since we heard that you can go to Ganon's Tower right in the beginning of the game, I'm guessing that Ganon's Tower is very close to where you start out with, and that you can get to him once you get the paraglider. But to unlock more of the story and to get more items and heart pieces and heart containers and stuff like that, you probably have to get more items to get to the other areas of the game. But yeah, I mean, that's basically about it. I mean, I don't have any really other ideas. I do have some ideas of like the story and like what the story is about, and like the sheiks, and like where's Zelda and the old man. Like, there's a lot to this game, but we know very little of it. I mean, the demo only showed 1% of the world, which is crazy. And apparently it's 10 times bigger than Twilight Princess. And that game is pretty big, but being 10 times bigger, it's just massive. It could be even bigger than Xenoblade Chronicles, which is a huge game. And seeing that Legend of Zelda is bigger than that's just amazing to me. But anyway, those are my ideas for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. If you guys have any ideas that I haven't said in this video, let me know in the comments below. But until then, stay tuned for other things Nintendo right here on Nintendo Nick. Bye.